Hey, what's up, everybody? Oh, happy Thursday. Man, we have cooked right along through this week. It's just every day is just flying right by. And it is a little bit warmer today, and it's going to be warmer overall. Currently 18 degrees, so double what it was yesterday morning at this time. High of around 35. Got 70% chance of snow overnight. Um, got a second, I guess, morning, because it is morning here, uh, very early morning, but second new moon out there today, this morning. 6:53 is the sunrise, and 6:59 is the sunset. And so, got another 3 minutes, another 3 minutes of daylight today. And so, it is Thursday, and I have class tonight, so that means it's going to be a pretty late night. I don't get home until late, so I might not be on tomorrow. But if not, my prayers. Everybody makes it to church. Get to a Bible preaching church this weekend. Sit under the preaching of the Word. Be edified, restored, lifted up, energized, challenged by the saints. Get with the brethren, right? Do life, share with one another, love on each other, serve each other, be served if you're in need of that, right? Sometimes we have, we are called to serve, but sometimes we need to be served, and let a brother or sister um, serve you, right? And so yeah, just get to church this weekend. There's so much spiritual happens there that it impacts the physical all week long. You know, Sunday. I say this maybe too much, but Sunday is the only time when we're at church. It's the only time as a believer we're not outnumbered by the enemy, by darkness, by unbelievers, by Satan on the battlefield, right? That's our one time where we're in the bulwarks, where we're in the within the gate with each other, where we're with the whole um, the safety of the battalion, right? The safety of the fort. That's the fortified spot in the battlefield. And when we're not all week long, we're out and we're hey, good morning. We're out and we're fighting and we're pushing back darkness. And it's like um, I watch a lot of higher level military folks and like spy stuff, CIA stuff, and just those elite people, and they're out there kind of um, as part of the whole unit, but they're out there doing and fighting against evil, right? And that's kind of us. And then when we get called home to recharge or get a new mission, and we come back to the training facility, and we come together, right? And that's us. That's how we need to view it, because it is a battle. Okay, it is a battle. All right, so we're in a study of Mark, and we're in Mark chapter 8. And this chapter, it moves very fast, and it seems like it's choppy, but it's not. And it really all fits together. And and when you look at it in a from a holistic perspective, right? So each individual event is something, and needs to be taken into account that way. But when you look at it as a from a mountaintop view, right? Um, it all fits as one, and that's the scriptures from Genesis to Revelation, right? How that works. So anyway, picking up in 14, Mark chapter 8 and verse 14. And they had forgotten to take bread and did not have more than one loaf in the boat with them. Now, Jesus just finished, right? He just finished feeding 4,000. Okay, just finished feeding 4,000. Um, and then the Pharisees come and they challenge him, looking for a sign. And he says, "Truly I say to you, no sign will be given to this generation." And then they left, and then they noticed they had forgotten to take bread, and they Jesus perceived something in their hearts. Hey, Alpha Omega, good morning, good morning. Perceived something in their hearts, and he began to discuss, and they began to discuss with one another the fact that they had no bread. See, us, we Christians, sometimes, Jesus will just been done a miracle, and we turn around and look back from what he just did to what's happening in the physical, and we're like, we don't have any bread, right? I don't have this. How am I going to do it? What am I going to do? And we start worrying about all these things, but but everything is in the Lord's hands, right? Everything belongs to the Lord. Then he says, and Jesus, aware of this, said to them, "Why do you discuss the fact that you have no bread? Do you not perceive or understand? Do you have a hardened heart?" See, and now he's bringing it back to the spiritual, right? He's bringing it back to the spiritual, not understanding the spiritual. We lean on things of the physical. Right? Do you not have a hardened heart? Having eyes, do you not see? Having ears, do you not hear? And do you not remember? Right? And do you not remember? Okay. And what is he saying? To remember what? Right? So he warned them. Okay. Looking back up in verse 15, he warns them. And he was giving orders to them, saying, "Watch out. Beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the leaven of Herod." Right? False shepherds. Watch out for false shepherds. And then watch out we don't turn into false shepherds. How? Okay, how? Right? By worrying about things in the physical. Okay, things in the physical. See, the Pharisees, right? They were selfish. They were selfish, and they were looking at things in the physical, and it was preventing them from moving on in the spiritual. Right? They wanted to keep the socioeconomic construct how it was. They wanted to keep people down to keep themselves in that wealthy state, in that higher social status, and that higher socioeconomic position, right? And then the leaven of Herod, right? Now Herod was boisterous, right? And he ended up taking the head of John the Baptist because of his brother's wife's daughter, which he took his brother's wife, right? And her dancing, and he was trying to please men, right? To please men instead of um, subjecting himself to the spiritual reality of what he was doing was wrong. Okay, so that boisterous um, type of attitude of elevating self, of doing things to want to be seen in a particular light, okay? To be seen in a particular light. And so when we lose sight of that and we're looking into the physical, he's it's we don't have those ears to hear, and we don't have those eyes to see because we have a hardened heart, because we're worried about the things of the physical, right? And so that's what he goes on to say: having eyes, do you not see? Having ears, do you not hear? And do you not remember? Don't you remember? I'm good, brother, I'm good. Don't you remember, he says, when I broke the 5 loaves and for the 5,000, and how many baskets of full of broken pieces you picked up? Then they said to him, 12. And when I broke 7 for the 4,000 and large baskets full of broken pieces, did you pick up? How many? And they said to him, 7. And he was saying to them, do you yet not understand? Don't you get it? Check it out. Now he gives an example. He's walking along, and he comes to um, Bethsaida. All right. Now he just warned them about being aware and watching out for the things in the physical, and don't let your heart be hard. And Jesus, they brought a blind man to him, and they pleaded with him to touch him. And they pleaded with him to touch him. Please, Lord, just touch him. Why? Because they have faith. They know that that faith in the That is all they could think. Yeah. So they did, yeah, rapid question. The first God reproved them for their obtuseness. Yeah, for their obtuseness. That's right. They were hard in heart, right? Hard in heart. And then so he says, um, don't you just touch him. And taking the blind man by the hand, he brought him out of the village. And after spitting on his eyes and laying his hands on him, he was asking him, do you see anything? Do you see anything? And then they said, um, and he looked up and was saying, I see men, for I see them like trees walking around. It started to come clear. It started to come clear. And, sometimes our faith is like that. We have it, but we don't quite fully understand it, and it starts to come clear, right? Now, at that point, we can either dig in and lean in and keep going and try to figure it out and search after him because we know there's something there, or, right, that's a moment where we can, that it doesn't, we don't chase after it, and those things of the world, or faith might waver. It, we might um we might lose um that vigor, right? We might lose that vigor. Chapter 8, we're in chapter 8, and we started in 14 and we're down to 23, actually 25, we're down to 25. And he said, okay. And so then again he laid his hands on him and looked intently and was restored, and began to see everything clearly. And began to see everything clearly. See? So we have to stay. We have to stay in that faithful position. We have to stay in that faithful position, clinging to Jesus, right? Don't let go of Jesus. Stay clinging to him, right? Stay clinging to him. And he laid his hands on him, because he will when you stay there, right? And he says, and he sent him home, saying, do not enter the village. So here we have that faithful, how our faith in the Lord has an impact on the physical. Okay, the faith in the Lord has an impact on the physical. See, we don't have to worry about food. We don't have to worry about bread. Well, if we worry about being faithful to the Lord and serving him and staying connected with him, right? All those things will work themselves out. All those things will work themselves out. And and our faith will grow clear. It will grow clear. Then he says, verse 27, and then so Jesus went out. Now look, you see how it's progressing. All right, where's your faith, right? Don't watch out for false shepherds, right? Watch out for them. Put your faith in me. I'll take care of you, right? I'll take care of you. And then it says, then we got in 27, going into 27. Hold on now. 22, the healing of the blind man, right? And where his faith is, and where the people's faith is in the Lord. Okay, so now he's giving them an example. And then he says, and Jesus went out along with the disciples to the villages, Caesarea, Philippi, and on his way asking his disciples, saying, who do people say that I am? And they told him, saying, John the Baptist, others say Elijah, but others, one of the prophets. And he continued, but who do you say that I am? See, who do you say that I am? Well, he says, right? He says, you are the Messiah. That's who you say that I am. Who who did the people say that he is? Now they could have been just going, sure, they could have just been going because they knew he was a healer and that's all they cared about, right? They knew that. That could have been, but somebody had faith, right? Somebody had faith that Jesus, right? That Jesus is the Lord. They're already talking about it. They're already talking, is he the Messiah? Is he is he John the Baptist come back, right? Is he one of the prophets? And Peter answered and said to him, you are the Christ. And he warned them, tell no one. And he began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things, right? Now, here's where it does come in stages, right? Yeah, salvation, the immediate salvation is instant, sure, right? And that instant healing of salvation does happen instantly. But what he's teaching here is a faith of assurance, right? A faith of assurance. And sometimes it is hard, right? It's very hard. We don't always like um, the trial, right? We don't always like the trial, but we, we're better on the other side. And so he's teaching them that the Son of Man must suffer things and be rejected by the elders and the chief priests. And he was stating the matter openly. And Peter took and he began to rebuke him. Good morning. And but turning around and seeing his disciples, he rebuked Peter and said, get thee behind me, Satan, for you are not setting your mind on God's interests, but man's. You are not setting your mind on God's interest, but man's, right? And going all the way back, that was what he said to be the leaven of the Pharisees and the leaven of Herod. Yeah. Then, then, right, 34, he gives the example. Now remember, it's Peter, you are the Christ. You are the Christ. He knows who he is, right? But when the things get hard, right? When the things get hard, do you stick to the plan? Right? Do you stick to the plan? Like the blind man, right? Okay, it didn't quite work. They thought for sure it would be healed, right? Instantly, because like you said, this is the only one that came in stages, is sort of, right? He, he was healed. He could, oh, I see men walking around like trees, right? But he stayed in the faith and it became even more clear. It became even more clear. Now, if you have zero sight and you get a little bit of sight and you can see, you can start to make out some images, big deal, right? Big deal. So, but when you stay in it and it becomes more clear and you stay following him, he clears it up. He clears it up. Peter, confused, he knew who he was. He was the Christ, right? But then he said, no, you can't do this. No, you can't do this. But this is what I have to do. This is what I have to do. If you can't stay with him and let it be sanctified and let it be cleared up, right? You you lose that, and is it? Are you really saved? Right? Get thee behind me, Satan. You're not after my interest, God's interest. You're after man's. So how do you stay after God's? So then, 34. Oh, I'm running real late. He summoned the crowd, said to them, if anyone wishes to come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross. Deny himself and take up his cross. See, that's what we have to do, right? That is the example. Deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Holding that cross, it gets heavy. It's hard to follow, y'all. It's hard to follow. So look, everybody, hey, have a wonderful day. Like I said, if I don't get on tomorrow, make sure you get to church this weekend. Lift somebody up. Be lifted up if you need it. Stay in it. Stay in the faith. Be growing closer to him, right? Every single day that your sight clear up, right? That when you don't lose your focus on his will, and serve and lose his serving his interest for man's interest, keeping that cross and following him, keeping that cross and following him. Thank you. Have a wonderful day, Gabe. Have a wonderful day. Grace and peace.